In comparison to regular consumer fashion, techwear is a pretty niche market, so then it makes sense that most of the popular brands are small studios built from the ground up with a strong cult following, and they're pretty solid in what their brand identity is. But that's not why I'm here today. Today, I want to talk to you about a brand that was founded out of literally nowhere, with levels of backing that these small studios would dream about. I'm of course talking about Alphatauri. Hey guys, my name's Peter and welcome back to my channel. If you know anything about Formula 1, you will likely know of Alphatauri's existence, since it is now the name of the team that was formerly known as Toro Rosso. Notice how I said name and not owner, and that's because Red Bull, the company who has majority ownership of both its own team and also Toro Rosso, basically decided one day that it would quite like a stake in the fashion industry, and that its development team was the perfect launchpad to do it from. So they got to work setting up some designers, got an initial collection ready, and then rebranded their entire team just to push it. Alphatauri was kind of just forced out into the world, and with that came the scrutiny of millions of eyes, many unfamiliar with the world of functionality-based fashion. And a lot were already biased against it because essentially a Red Bull marketing order had just decided to paste over a well-established team. And just as quickly as Alphatauri had come about, most fans had already cast their judgment. A frivolous high fashion brand for people with more money than sense. And it's not hard to see how they got their reputation. No one really trusted it.
You know what I'm getting? You know what I mean? Eurotrash, right? This is like premium Eurotrash.
I mean, the brand talked a lot about their different technologies, but it all sounded like marketing waffle. No one knew if their material quality was any good, and their first collection was a bit confused to say the least. I mean, if someone's first experience of your brand is seeing how you spliced a wool overcoat and a neon yellow puffer jacket, you can understand why they're being a bit confused. Well, we're almost a year on now from when the brand was first released, and I think they deserve a second chance. They recently came up with their SS21 capsule, and there are some things in there that I think are actually quite cool. They've also started to do some real innovation in terms of the functionality they're embedding in their clothes. But before I talk about that, I want to get back to that trust thing I just mentioned, because in reality, I don't think it should have ever been doubted in the first place. Alphatauri's brand statement is as follows: the combination of innovation and purposeful design, pioneering technologies and premium fabrics and materials. That's just marketing speak for trying to fuse the high performance materials of techwear with traditional formal chic fashion. But if you go on their about page, skip all the marketing and you'll find this: their partnership with Scholler Textiles AG. Now, this is more important than you might think, because Scholler fabrics like Dryskin are widely used in techwear, particularly in the upper echelon of brands like Acronym and Enfant Levé. If the Papa aerosol and seal of approval isn't enough evidence for material quality, there's even more. This combination of formal wear and techwear isn't actually as groundbreaking as Alphatauri would like you to believe. This is also the design principle behind Veilance, one of the most esteemed Grail tier brands in techwear. Veilance doesn't have the same trust problems that Alphatauri does, since not only has it been in the game for a while, it's the sub-brand of Arc'teryx, a well-respected outdoor performance brand. Veilance gets the material quality from Arc'teryx and applies it into new, modern, experimental cuts and forms, and people love it. I mean, it all doesn't quite hit the same for me because I have no real need for a blazer, especially one that costs £700, but if you treat it like something that's trying to push the boundaries and apply the techwear design philosophy to new areas, it starts to make more sense. So how come Veilance gets to push the envelope and is respected, but when Alphatauri tries, they're dismissed? I mean, they even have some really similar offerings. This Partition LT coat is very close to the Alphatauri OCAPA. This Indice waterproof blazer I just mentioned is very similar to the Alphatauri O-Boss, and this Conduit LT jacket is just like the Onda. The main difference is that across all three, the Alphatauri offerings come in at least half the price. I guess it comes back to the trust in material quality again. If you buy a Veilance jacket, you know you're getting the best, and their product pages are littered with evidence of the high quality materials they use. But if you buy Alphatauri, it's kind of like a gamble. I mean, you aren't as sure in what you're getting. The only way to solve this then is to get something in hand and put the claims to the test. This is the Alphatauri OCAPA packable rain jacket, which I've had for a couple months now. Granted, it isn't quite the £400 waterproof overcoat that rivals Veilance, but it's an Alphatauri product nonetheless. It's a very thin and lightweight, almost poncho-like jacket made from this single layer of this slightly transparent fabric. It looks a lot like ripstop, but it actually feels really nice on your skin and it's quite nice to wear. For how thin it is, you'd expect something really delicate, but it does actually have some reasonable strength to it. Since buying this, I have bought other, more expensive techwear items, and I keep coming back to this, and every time I'm surprised at its durability and just how well made it is for how thin the material is. It works pretty well as an emergency jacket you keep packed away in your bag, but if you don't want it hidden away waiting for a rainy day, I think it does look pretty cool in its own right. With this really nice colour and the slight transparency, does give it some distinctive qualities, to say the least. I don't think this jacket is actually available anymore, so I'm not going to review it too much, but I just wanted to show it to you to prove that there is some actual substance and quality behind the brand. Anyway, that rain jacket released pretty early on in the brand's life, when they aren't spending their time designing cashmere jumpers and Veilance alternatives. What are they actually doing? Well, I mentioned how they're trying to push the envelope with their technology, and I wasn't lying. Pretty recently, they released their Heatable collection, a series of jackets and gilets with heating elements in the lower back and pockets with an integrated app to control it. They're powered by a battery bank you put in one of the pockets, and you can use the app to control the temperature to your liking. Not to mention this never before seen functionality comes from miles underneath what a fully featured acronym or Veilance jacket would run you. But this is a real product that you can actually buy, although you will have a hard time getting your hands on it if you don't live in one of the select few countries that it's available in. This is an example of real technological innovation, and I'm really excited to see what their next release might be. I think this could be the real strength of Alphatauri, not this whole formal high fashion techwear thing, because in that market they're always going to be playing second fiddle to Veilance. This Heatable jacket represents an untapped market of experimental fashion, and I think it meshes much better with the Alphatauri brand and the F1 team that shares its name. I think if Alphatauri wants to actually become something, it needs to have something different about it, and it needs to be able to prove that it's trying to further the fashion industry like it says it is. Maybe in 5 years' time, if it's still around and people trust in the material quality and the designers start to gain more confidence in more experimental cuts, we will start to see items that actually give brands like Veilance a run for their money, rather than appearing like a less qualified alternative. Personally, I think they should drop the cashmere, the wool, the leather, and really pursue the technical materials that manufacturers like Schola offer, and really commit to the Veilance market space, because at the moment I feel like the use of these traditional materials is what's holding them back in terms of being able to deliver the innovation and functionality that they're looking for. Like, there's a reason why synthetic materials are taking precedence over traditional ones in techwear, and that's because they're just better. They offer better functionality and they're just better. So unless Alphatauri decides to go back to the drawing board and drop this idea of marketing to a consumer that doesn't really exist, I think they might forever be destined to be viewed as a confused and uncoordinated high fashion brand, which is a shame really, because some of the stuff like this Heatable jacket actually being a fully realised product is actually quite an achievement. So yeah, that concludes this brief look at Alphatauri and why I think it deserves more of a recognition in the techwear space. There is definitely more I can talk about it. I do want to go more in depth to the actual design thinking behind the brand and what I would change about it, especially given that design is what I'm actually qualified to talk about. So let me know if that's something you'd be interested in seeing. As always, if you made it this far into the video, I thank you, it really means a lot. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe if you want. It lets me know that I'm doing a good job. So yeah, see you next week.